Call the Citrus County Tourist Development Council meeting to order July 13th. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yesterday was a peaceful day, so I am actually fully functional this morning.
Yeah.
Woohoo! And
Unlike the IT.
unlike the IT. Do we already miss Charles? Sorry, Miles, that was me teasing you. Jackie, would you?
Yes, ma'am.
Like
Y'all
to do the
join me
honors?
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for the blessings you put on us, on Citrus County, on all of us, Lord. We just thank you for the opportunity that we can meet openly and freely without fear to discuss the betterment of our county and its residents and bring in more money. We thank you for your continued blessings. Pray you bless all our first responders. Thank you again for everything you do for us, Lord. It's in Jesus' name we pray and thank you. Amen.
Amen.
I'll pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, great. Good. All right, roll call, please.
I guess I can call everybody, or you just say everybody's here. But we'll go official. So Chair Holly Davis, Vice Chair Mike Ingalls, Councilmember Cindy Guy, Councilmember Jackie Hepfer, Dr. Paresh Desai, Michael Mankey, Michael Shoemaker, Gene McGee, and Ashton Strock Earl. So we have a full allotment of TDC members today.
Awesome. You should throw something on there that needs a supermajority. Woohoo! Just kidding. Just kidding. Inappropriate sense of humor as usual. All right, looking for adoption of the agenda. Motion,
Move
please.
adoption.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, looking for a motion on the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, open to the public. Anyone? Anyone? You want to wait?
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting.
I do like to run a tight meeting. if
I
can.
see that. Holly runs a tight ship. Do I really need this?
You do for the record, yeah.
Hi, most of you know who I am. My name's Lisa Sino, formerly with the City of Inverness and with the Chamber. But I'm here today hoping that you'll consider supporting the inaugural Inverness Country Jam, which is going to be a 3-day country music festival the last weekend of October in the Liberty Park and the Depot. It's kind of exciting.
Just test.
The City of Inverness has decided to let the Great American Cooter Fest just be a wonderful memory. And they've partnered with us to do this country music festival, which is going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have already signed Sammy Kershaw, Aaron Tippin, Colin Ray, Frank Ray, Matt Stell, Lori Morgan, Sawyer Brown, more to come. We've got great VIP packages that people can buy, general admission tickets, reserved seats. I have no idea if this is working. Event capacity is about 4,000, and we've already committed to do quite a bit of advertising outside of the county. We really feel like this is going to put heads in beds, bring people in from Central Florida and not just our local folks due to the acts that are coming in. And we're hoping you guys will support the event and give us a little marketing money to get out there to the places outside of the county where we need to get people excited and want them to come.
Awesome.
Anybody have any questions or anything?
Well, it'll come up on the agenda, so.
So I suggested that you come to the public comments. We've done this before to gauge interest from the board, and then we'll bring it back with a formal request
Awesome.
next month.
Okay.
But just to see, sometimes there's no interest, and sometimes there's interest. So I just to get a gauge for if there were any other questions or things that they wanted to see from the request. I thought this would be a good time to go ahead and jump on those so that the application would be as complete as possible.
Wonderful. So, any questions, anyone?
I guess I have one. You say you're partnered with the city of Inverness. What's the entity that's putting on the concert, and is it for-profit or not-for-profit?
It's Pro Tour Event Management. He's a concert festival promoter for probably 40 years. Yes, it is for profit. However, there are things that we've worked into the plan to put money back into the community. For example, we're using a portion of the Boys and Girls Club's property and selling space there. They're going to get 40% of that. We've also worked out an arrangement with a Kiwanis to do one of the bars, and they're going to get 20% of that. And we're still putting together some deals. We reached out to Citrus County Blessings, and we also wanted to reach out to the Y as well to try and, partner with them so that they can help us and they can make some money at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. Where is the concert promoter located?
He's here locally. He's
Is
in
he?
Black Diamond.
Okay.
I just
Yes.
wanted to add to that, in the July 3rd we just did, we did all the concessions were nonprofits. We didn't bring in any out-of-town professional food people. It was all our local clubs and groups, and it was well received, and they all did exceedingly well. So
Good.
that's one of our things about keeping it local. Bring in the people that need, all of them need a shot in the arm in the summer, so.
Yep. Awesome.
And we agree. It's important while we're bringing in artists and we are bringing some vendors in from the outside, it's very important to us to make sure the local vendors, whether they're food or festival vendors, that they have an opportunity to be a part of this. And Sonny Cooter's not going away, everybody. He's still going to be a little bit of a part of this event. It's Sonny Cooter Presents the Inverness Country Jam.
I have a question. So the Cooter Fest is going away, so are you still doing the sprint triathlons during this event?
That wasn't something that was done by the city of Inverness.
Right.
So I'll be honest with you, it's not connected to our event in any way. I'm not even sure who put it on. You might know, Jackie.
Yeah.
I don't remember,
It was,
because it wasn't city, we just.
DRC Sports. Because that was actually my first sprint triathlon I did.
But Chris Molling had to have been doing it for someone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who that is. But we don't have any plans to do anything like that. Although we are going to keep the Cooter Ween costume contest. So on Sunday morning, we're going to open the depot an hour and a half early, and it'll be free. And all the folks that have been part of the Cooter Ween costume contest are still going to have the opportunity to do that because it's beloved. At least we feel like it's beloved. So there are still some ties to Sonny Cooter and the Cooter Fest, as there should be.
Cool. Thanks.
Michael?
Did I miss the dates?
It's the last full weekend of October, so it's the 28th, 29th, and 30th. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Halloween.
Halloween weekend.
Yes.
Mike, did you have any questions?
No, I just was telling them Halloween weekend.
Anyone? Any questions? What is the, do you guys have an idea on what the price points are going to be at?
We're doing a 3-day ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to see how that goes. Whether we have to open it up to single-day tickets, but a 3-day ticket's $60.
Wow.
It's cheap.
I mean, I don't know
This is a
how.
non-for-profit?
Unless you want to do an upgraded experience, there's a VIP area, there's reserved seating that'll be 80, and then there's a very upgraded portion where you can have like a suite, like a box,
Mhm.
where you can be waited on and have a concierge and really have an upscale experience.
What are you thinking for that?
And for the 4-person, it'll be $1,200,
Mm-hmm.
but that's for 3 days.
That's $100 a day per person.
And then
For a VIP, that's fair,
and the
I think.
6th person will be, I think it's 1,200. I think it'll be, or 1,400. Pardon me.
Mhm.
But there is going to be a little like a lounge that
Mhm.
only the VIPs will have access to, and like I said, they'll have in-seat food and beverage, and air-conditioned bathroom trailer. So it is a very upscale experience, and I don't think it's overpriced for that kind of for the people that want that. And if you want to buy a pit pass and you want to stand in front of the stage and go crazy, that's an option too. And that's $100 a day if you want to do that.
Cool.
So
Awesome. Do y'all see anything that they should include or not include? Sounds good to me, but.
Room nights.
Yep. Room nights. Make sure.
which we're hopeful for. I know that Steve is still considering whether he wants to buy up some blocks of rooms and resell them. But that's still up in the air.
Okay.
I can't really speak to that. I just know it's one of the things in his mind. I have a press release copies. I don't know if I'm allowed to give you guys one or.
I take it and I'll send it to him after the meeting.
Okay.
That'd be easier.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Lisa. All right. Anybody else? No?
Yeah.
Presentations?
Right. It's that time of year for the media plan presentation. TJ Fletcher is here live. We have John Bridges and Jen O'Connor on Teams. There they are, fingers crossed. Hopefully this will work much better than our previous attempts with the Google meeting. At this point I'll turn it over to TJ. He'll walk you through where we've been and where we're going. So, TJ.
Thank you. Well, it's good to be here again and see all
See
of
all
you.
of our faces.
I'm gonna step away from the microphone, maybe. It's that time of the year again to kind of show you our quarterly report. So today we're going to walk through some of our last quarter, April through June highlights, as well as give you some updates on where we are regarding some upcoming projects, and then talk about the marketing plan for fiscal year 23. So with that, we will move over to the next slide. There they go. Next slide, please.
Oh.
There's control.
I think it's on.
Has Jen got it?
Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
TJ, did you hear that our media guy last day was yesterday?
There's an explanation.
And I think Veronica's still in the closet trying to help because she said it's very tricky in here and Charles was supposed to. Pardon?
This was for an improvement over the Google.
I don't think it's Teams. I think it's.
I'm talking into a barrel.
Promise we have a great presentation for you all.
Not in the barrel.
Given in the Grand Canyon, full of echoes. What would a baby without technology issues then?
But I closed captioning.
I apologize.
I'm sure a little old-fashioned and important.
Still echoing.
This is if you can switch it to the computer.
Don't want to just invent anything else.
There you go. That's gonna, although it's still in.
It's blowing sound off the computer. It's picking up the speakers.
Okay. Nope. Testing. I can hear it.
So the hearing echo.
Yeah, we can hear that echo too.
That's the best explanation I've heard.
Go back to that old,
Women in black.
sign off logo sign, like the old TVs when they had that test pattern, and then there's something that should pop that up instead. Go retro like that.
Disney's had the old peacock.
I'm not hearing an echo.
Oh, good. Disney started.
Scan is doing tickets.
You know, at night when it signed off, they had that black and white image and everything.
Hello, how are you guys?
All right.
Hey, everyone.
You got a shot.
Yeah, there's no echo, but you might have to speak with your diaphragm.
Yeah, it may move closer to your machine.
All right, can y'all hear me? John, Jen, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's try this. Let's move on to industry trends. Here we go, y'all. All right, so as I'm sure this comes to a big shocker, but gas prices are high. So rising transportation costs are definitely a concern for travelers right now. 41% are saying that the rising gas prices are greatly impacting their decision to travel within the next 6 months. The good news is only 9% are saying that they're going to cancel those trips because of the gas prices. With that, though, there are 4 in 10 that are saying that they're going to choose a destination that's closer to home and that they don't have to drive as far and use as much gas. So that's some good news here, especially since a lot of what we do with Crystal River marketing targeting is focusing on our drive markets. Despite inflation, demand for travel, though, is still at record high. Travel sentiment is still at 91%, so that is record-breaking for pre-pandemic levels, with American travelers indicating that they do plan on taking another trip within the next 6 months. So good positive news there. And 62% of American travelers are saying that, if you can go back a slide, please. 62% are saying that the travel will be a high budget priority over the next 3 months. So they are still making room for this in their priority spending list. Next slide. So as we look at the travel priorities over the next 12 months, the top 4 things are really good attributes for the Crystal River ecosystem. So really things that are engaging here in the market. So spending time with loved ones, 76%. New places that you haven't visited before, enjoying nature, and getting away from the crowds. All of this is very relevant to Crystal River. Next slide. So as we look at some state-specific data from Visit Florida, looking at Q1 of the calendar year, as we can see in visitation, ADR, and occupancy, we're seeing year-over-year increases across the whole state. Next slide. So moving in from industry trends, we're going to talk a little bit about our creative updates, our media performance, and then some insights from Voyage. So as you know, as we are looking at our marketing calendar, we typically break things up between manatee season, September through February, within our shoulder seasons being water activities and scalloping. So since we are looking back for this last quarter, April through June, we were focused on water activities and the start of scalloping season coming into July 1. So at the last board meeting, I was telling you that we were getting ready to do some creative refreshes. Well, we were able to make those, so I'm going to let Jen kind of show you what those creative refreshes look like with some of our new ads.
So for the new season, we wanted to refresh, but not totally change the look and feel of what we were doing for Crystal River. So we updated sort of the main font where you see Scallop Season and Awesome to be a little bit more dynamic, a little bit less of kind of a childlike script to something that had a lot more energy to it. We also added a QR code to each one of the print ads that we have here. And then we added this really nice little kind of wave graphic to split up the imagery and the copy at the bottom moving forward for the different ads. Also incorporating, especially for fishing and some of the scalloping, we're incorporating a lot of those new images that we shot during our video shoots late last year. These are some of the digital ads that we currently have running for you. And then these are also digital ads, but these are the updated book midweek and save ads that we're currently running as well.
And here is a good place as any to just kind of interrupt this and give you some good news. So a couple of months ago, we entered Discover Crystal River into the Flagler Awards, which I know that you are all familiar with, State Marketing Awards. Good news is we just found out this week that our Book Midweek and Save campaign won a Flagler. So I think congratulations is in order to the entire DCR team. But we will know what place we won. We don't know, if it's a gold, bronze, the Henry Award. We don't know what level yet, but we do know we won a Flagler, and that'll all be presented at the governor's conference here in a couple of months.
TJ, if you're not first, you're last. We have high standards.
That's right. Hey, we like winners, right?
We made the podium. That was the goal. We made the podium.
Right.
Yeah.
New projects for Q2 that we have going in. We worked on a Their Life, My Lens sponsorship. So they did 2 episodes that they filmed at Crystal River, one with a DCR commercial during each graphic. The Tampa 10 OTT and on location shoot, they did have some trouble with the boat. So that shoot date is pushed back to the end of this month, although we do have our current video for scalloping running, and then the air dates for the shoot and those 2 segments that they're producing will run in August on the 8th and the 15th. We also, this year, we put video edits in the plan. So we took those videos that we did last year and the year prior, and we updated them for small 6-second and 15-second placements, and that allowed us to add those little video snippets into a lot of other digital media as well. And then we added a few new print ads for Florida Sportsman this year and Outcoast.
And we, at the last meeting, it was mentioned that, scallop season typically has really, great numbers here at the very beginning, but kind of taper off as we get into August, September. So we heard that feedback, and that is one of the reasons, looking at occupancy in August of why we wanted to push the scalloping message in the Tampa Bay region to really help boost those numbers in August as well.
Cool. Well, I wanted to jump in here really quick and talk a little bit about some of our successes from the digital side. One thing we did is we did actually see an increase in about 57% in just total new users year over year, and almost 2 years of video consumed since the beginning of the fiscal year, and almost 500,000 social engagements. The other thing too that we look at is kind of what kind of audiences are we attracting to our website, and there we saw a 41% increase in family vacationers, and also a 29% increase in people who visited who were in market to Orlando, and that's really good too, just because it shows us that we are trying to that Orlando market and people who are thinking about trips to Orlando, but we're also getting in front of them with our message and showing them how amazing Discover Crystal River is. And then I just wanted to kind of show you guys real quick, how much of our digital first strategy affects kind of our website and how much traffic is coming to the website. So everything that's highlighted here is our media campaigns and how much traffic we're driving to the website. So yeah, just to kind of give you an idea of what that kind of percentage looks like in a fun kind of graphical way.
And just to point out here, because this is going to come up later in the presentation, if you can go back one slide, that number 2 is Google Organic. So this is one number that we are looking at making improvements into fiscal year 23. We right now it's about 20% of the website traffic, and we think that number could be a little bit better. So we're going to make some recommendations later on fiscal year 23 media plan when we get to that section to help boost this number to make number 2 grow a little bit stronger.
Can you explain that a little bit more to me? So direct, that means they type in visit Crystal River or Crystal River.
Correct, they're typing in the
whatever.
URL.
And then Google is, we serve them an ad, or they search Google specifically for us?
Organic means that you're showing up on the search engine page naturally. It's not a paid click. It's not a paid ad. Where it says Google CPC, that is a cost per click, so that is a Google AdWord.
Okay,
Yep.
so Google Organic is, they're going to search Visit Crystal River or Crystal River Tourism or something like that, and then we come up naturally.
Manatees.
Hopefully. You hopefully come up.
Hopefully come up.
Yeah, and so that's where our recommendation is going to be adding search engine optimization into the plan for next year. That's currently a tactic that's not being done. So search engine optimization will help us with all of our keywords, look at what we're doing on our website, plus what our competitors are doing and how we can rank against them, where we can always try to show up number 1 when people are searching those keywords.
Is that more expensive or less expensive than clicks per, the cost per click? So, I mean, I see where we're now paying for specific ads, but if you do search engine optimization, is that less expensive to drive numbers than it is to pay like a cost per click to do an ad?
That's not really an apples to apples comparison, I don't think. With SEO, that's an ongoing process that you're continually making improvements to the website. So you're checking things like your meta tags and your back-end descriptions, alt tags, and things like that. So it helps what Google calls spiders, right? When they crawl the web to find all of that back-end information on your web page and hopefully pull that to the first search page. Whereas a Google paid CPC AdWord, you're bidding on specific keywords, and we, say swim with the manatees might be a $2 cost per click, where visit citrus might be a 50-cent keyword. So it really depends on what that keyword is, what the demand level is, and how much we're bidding on.
But it's wrong of me to think that the second category, if you do search engine optimization and we up that number, that's free. And then cost per click is paid advertising, like public relations versus, or earned media versus paid media. That's not a correct way to look at it then, right?
I would say that's a good way to look at it. I mean, because your organic is things that you would naturally, you're paying right for the service of it, but you're not having to pay for that user to make that conversion.
Actually, that makes me really happy then. I mean, what you're kind of telling me is our earned media, kind of what we do, gets us the majority of the clicks on our website. And then we have to go out and do paid targeted advertising to get more clicks.
Right.
And so what you're proposing is to enhance our earned media or enhance our public relations sort of.
Enhance the content on the site to make it more easily findable.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I'm sorry.
And I can jump in here really quick too and just kind of mention that, the best way to describe it is think of search engine optimization as like the marathon and search engine marketing as like the sprint. So when you're running a marathon, that's kind of the long game, right? So you might invest, let's say, $12,000 in search engine optimization in a year, but it may take 6 months for that to kind of actualize into increased traffic. But what happens is that traffic extends for 2, 3, 4 years, and just continues to build. And so if you look at a 5-year snapshot after investing money in search engine optimization, all of a sudden your effective CPC would be something in the matter of fractions of what you paid in a month's time to get that same traffic, if that makes sense.
Right. No, it does. No, it's good. Again, I'm just kind of pleased that 62% of our traffic is earned in my wine, right?
Well, what I was going to ask is
42 and 20.
What has been done in the past for SEO for the website?
Nothing to my knowledge. That's why we were adding it in to the plan. I think that there was some confusion of like Tempest handling.
Tempest, when they built the site, did some SEO, and I believed a part of our package was some maintenance on that.
Yes.
But there wasn't really anything being done besides that. So that's why we've.
But the blogs are all SEO, the articles.
Yes, all those things are yes, but in terms of just the site as a whole,
Overall,
after it was built, there really wasn't. I was misunderstood what they were doing because it. So we're fixing that.
That is such low-hanging fruit.
Mhm.
That absolutely has to be taken care of. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why we're
you know
making-
my background, so I'm like, yeah, what? We haven't done this yet?
Yep.
I'm sorry for that rabbit hole, but that was just education for the.
No, it's good, but you always have to, one of the things that you always have to do as a marketer is put yourself in the mind of somebody who know nothing, right? And so you're somebody, a mom in Oklahoma, for heaven's sake, that wants to take her kids, swim with manatees. They're going to Google that. And so, like TJ said, you can pay through the nose for that, or you can have all this rich content on your website that overwhelms Google with the idea that this is the site to swim with manatees, period, full stop.
Okay.
It should be you, it should be you, it should be everybody at this table because it is the mothership brand. And then everybody else should be, second, third position, and that'll go in flux. But it's
Makes sense.
And then your
SEO
site
is-
shows up hopefully on the first page, on the first listing,
Mhm.
and you don't have to pay for those clicks anymore because then they're finding it naturally.
And you notice when you Google swim and manatees, it'll be add, and then the organics start right below that.
Right.
So we've had blogs in my firm that continue to leverage results like 5 years later. It's crazy. It's just they snowball
Yep.
with Google. So anyway.
And so this is where like all the blog posts, all the existing content, now we'll make sure that all that is still being, maintained, updated, having the correct, because Google changes their algorithms, almost on a monthly basis, right? So we'll make sure that everything is staying updated and to industry best practices to move that forward. The difference was in the Tempest contract, the maintenance part of that really is updating, WordPress and the plugins and things like that. So there was just some confusion there. So that's why when we noticed that this was a tactic, we're recommending adding it into the plan.
Okay.
Because, like you said, low-hanging fruit. All right, next slide, please.
So I wanted to also just kind of give you guys an update in terms of our growth strategy and some of the different DMAs that we were focusing on and what we were seeing across the board from our digital metrics as well as some website metrics. A few things to call out here. New York is driving the most amount of traffic. That's not a surprise. It's probably the most has the highest population. But it's also really nice to see that that effort does reflect on our organic increases. So we did see a 210% increase in this last quarter from traffic from New York. So just kind of exactly speaking to our efforts or to SEO and how that can be important, and also how our media strategy can lead into more organic traffic and things of that sort. And then the other piece too is just how well performing Atlanta is, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the Voyage Insights as well. So as you'll see on the left here, we just brought out from Voyage kind of just what the percentage of visitation from your top 10 metros are. As you can see, Tampa and Orlando are number 1 and 2, and then we see a fair amount of traffic coming from Gainesville and Jacksonville. But the next highest is Atlanta. And that's really promising because, as I just mentioned, we saw really good metrics and traffic coming from the Atlanta DMA. And also we saw that the length of stay in Atlanta is about 4 days. That's about 2.5 days longer than the top 5 visiting metros. And that's great. That means that Atlanta is very valuable, and we want to continue to target them along with some of our other out-of-state DMAs. Some other fun stuff that I wanted to pull out as just insights from Voyage. So as you'll see in the middle here, this is looking at short-term rental comparison between you guys and Bradenton. And just wanted to kind of show where you guys stack up in terms of what does that ADR and that RevPAR look like compared to a destination like Bradenton, and how are you guys doing, when we look at things like short-term rental performance. The other things that we can pull out is you'll see on the far right there, the top ad is actually one of our ads. It is a cinematograph, so unfortunately you can't see it on this, but it does have a little bit of movement. There's a bird that kind of flows through. It's not a video. It's just kind of stills along with movement. And then you can see an example of the Bradenton ad just to kind of make sure, are we matching up? Are we really showcasing our destination? And are we making sure that, we look better than some of our competitors here? And the last thing I wanted to show you in terms of Voyage was just looking at the points of interest and where your visitors are going once they're in destination. And one of the things that's a really nice call out here is, as we talk about, we want to make sure that we're showcasing all the fun outdoor activities that people can do and getting in the water and having fun with family. Are they doing that when they get there? And so it's nice to be able to use the Voyage platform to see that, yes, they are. Definitely people are also doing other things like shopping, and you can see a couple of hotels in here, but one of the things that you'll notice is that a lot of the activities that people do are those outdoor activities, getting into the public parks and things like that. So Riverwalk, Hunter Springs, Homosassa, and Three Sister Springs, along with the Crystal River Preserve, all in the top 10 of places where people visit once they come into the destination.
So we wanted to give an update on the Conversant campaign. As you recall, we've done Conversant in the past a couple of times. This last campaign ran from February through April of 2022, and we looked at the past 2 years of visitors. We looked at our top drive and fly markets. If you could go to the next slide. And we also looked at household incomes of 75,000 plus. So this campaign ran February through April, and then after the campaign ends at the end of April 30th, we do attribution 90 days post-campaign. So we're still in the middle of that attribution window here through at least the end of July. So we're still collecting data. So really, the numbers that we're about to show you is only going to get better from here. So in our targeting, we looked at Miami and other top Florida DMAs, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas for our targeting metrics. So with this, our investment was a $105,000 campaign. And out of that, we've already measured $1.4 million of visitor spend. Next slide, please. Thank you. So that gives us a return on investment of $13 for every $1 we're spending, which is fantastic. And as I said, we're going to still be collecting data and still measuring that attribution. So that return on advertising spend number is only going to grow the more people that we collect and show up in market. With that, we've measured over 7.7 thousand visitors who have seen the ads and actually showed up in the destination with a 1.7% message traveler rate. They have made over 26,000 transactions with about 3.4 average purchases per visitor, yielding $177 per visitor spend. So these numbers are really outstanding. It's a good return on investment, and we're pleased with the success for the Conversant campaign. It'll be interesting to see, as this campaign ends and wraps up with the attribution, what that final number looks like. That way we can compare the different seasons as well. So we'll have a full, kind of breakout comparison once that attribution window closes.
TJ, is there a goal on the message traveler rate? Where is that? Is that above the bar, on par with the bar? Where?
John, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so according to the team over at Conversant Epsilon, their goal is really a 1% message traveler rate. So yeah, so we're exceeding their kind of estimates and goals in terms of, how many travelers we get to how many, individual messages we got out there.
Okay.
So on the next slide, this is just going to show you some of the delivery metrics. So of course, the highest delivery and click volume being in Tampa, St. Pete area, followed by New York, and then Orlando. Our click-through rate measurements range from 0.11 to 0.14, with the average of being 0.13 click-through rate, which is pretty standard. That's pretty much the benchmark. And then residents from the following markets yielded the top performance. So Tampa, St. Pete, of course, still the highest, followed by Orlando, New York, Miami, Atlanta, and Jacksonville. So Atlanta keeps popping up. We keep seeing Atlanta. So that's one of the things that we're keeping in mind for targeting in fiscal year 23 as well. On the next slide, this is just a visitor demographics chart. So there's nothing really here that is super surprising to us. This is for the visitors who have actually showed up in the destination. People 45 and older contributed 80% of the visitor spend. Visitors with a net worth of 500,000 contributed 45% of the visitor spend, and visitors with a household income of less than 100,000 was 61%. So when you have a high net worth but a low household income, that tells us that these people are retired, that they are now grandma, grandpa in their RV coming down and spending some money at our grocery stores, at our campgrounds, making an economic impact here in Citrus County. All right, and I'm going to turn it over to John to talk to us a little bit about our Choosel attribution, which is video campaign.
Yeah, so Choosel was our connected TV campaign, and one of the nice parts about this campaign, why we wanted to highlight it, was this was always in our fiscal year planning from last year, so we didn't really get to need to spend any additional money for this campaign, but one of the things that was brought to us by the Choosel platform was that they have a connection with the Foursquare, if you guys remember that app from way back when. But so they have a connection with the Foursquare data, and we're able to actually match their data and the number of impressions we were getting out there with the Foursquare data in order to see people who would actually come into the destination. So this was kind of an added value. We wanted to share this with you guys. Foursquare data is not an exact science because a lot of it originally was built by users, right? So users would create locations and things like that. So some of the location data is not quite as exact as things that we do, say, through our Voyage platform and things like that. But there was still some interesting things that we gleaned from the data, and we wanted to share with you guys. One of them was as we went through the campaign, we saw about 753 people who entered the destination who were exposed to the campaign. One of the other interesting things was it did share with us the first impression and the last impression before the user went into the destination. So one of the things we noticed is that there was about 4.5 days between that first impression and that last impression before the visitors actually converted and went to the destination. So that was very interesting, and usually that last impression was about a week, 5 to 7 days before they entered the destination, which was also interesting. So that kind of cycle was relatively short when we look at some of the lead time for visitation from first impression. So some of the data that we were able to figure out, if you want to go to the next slide, was just to see what creative were people seeing. Which creative did they see first? Which creative did they see last? And which ones were the most popular? And so, unsurprising, whenever we showcase beautiful food and beer, people seem to react. But one of the things that we did notice here was that the family RVing fishing video was actually really, really popular. And so my next question was, since we have some of that Foursquare data, did we see a lot of people going to campgrounds and RV spots when we looked at where people ended up? And we ended up seeing, if you want to run over to the next slide, we ended up seeing that, there was a lot of people. You can see here like Betty's Lawn Campground and a few others here, but that where people were visiting those RV resorts and those campgrounds after having seen that RV creative. And so that really helps give us an idea of how much what the creative is and how we're targeting people actually does affect where they go. And that was really promising. Again, like I said, this shows all the different places that people went according to the Foursquare data. So you can kind of see there was a lot of different places that people went. It wasn't just one particular hotel or RV campground that was one that people specifically went to. Obviously, people have their own preferences, and I'm sure pricing and a bunch of other things and location have a lot of effect on that. But it was really interesting to see this data, and it was great because we were able to get it as just kind of added value along with our campaign. This didn't cost us any extra money, and we were just able to get some extra data from our buy with Choosel.
Just to pause here, I see a lot of whispering from the board members, so is there any questions about any of this?
Oh, well, I was just wondering if Dr. Desai's property was the 1610 Paradise Circle, because I didn't see his. And then the reason it jogged me is Dev Jur is the Days Inn hotel. Yes. So I was trying to.
Yeah, I was getting a little confused looking at that.
Yeah, wondering, what is the
corporate name?
Yeah.
And as John mentioned too, this with Foursquare, the location data isn't perfect. So like, for example, the Renaissance Center, we don't think that people actually went to the Renaissance Center, but there are 2 grocery stores right across the street
We figured out that's the school board.
that people are, if there are
The
being
school board
campers.
in the tech college right there, so we figured there's the Winn-Dixie and the Publix across the street, and so most likely, that's what it is. It's there, yeah, I don't think they're going to
campgrounds
Yeah.
and going to the grocery store
Yeah, I don't think they're
first.
going to the school board
And then
or
go.
taking a class.
Yeah.
Taking a
Crown
will.
Hotel doesn't exist, it's an assisted living for Medicaid.
Which one?
Oh,
Crown
Crown
Hotel.
Hotel, yeah.
Crown Hotel.
That's
There
right
is a-
there
there
in
is an
downtown
assisted
Memphis,
living
so maybe
facility.
that's what it's
Yeah.
picking up.
And
is
like John
people
said,
going there.
a lot of these things, a lot of the data was user created at a time, and so and Foursquare is pretty dated as a as a platform of what it was. We're used to check in at places, so yeah, so that's why there's some, as he said, it's not nearly as accurate as our point of interest from the Voyage platform, but it is interesting to see that there are places they are after they're exposed, they are going places.
Did we ever have a Ramada Inn here?
No.
I don't know.
But what's a 47 or 6? Is that the Motel 6 or whatever that's down there?
Do we have one of
The
those?
Econo Lodge, you mean?
Or the Econo Lodge, yeah. That would be about where the Econo Lodge is.
Yeah.
Just address-wise, I'm at 2380.
So the good news is too, this was out.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving forward.
This is all free.
Don't invest in Foursquare.
We didn't pay for this, just so you know.
Don't show it to local people, because we know the difference.
All right, moving on to the next slide.
So the last thing I just wanted to finish up here was because we were able to get some of this data, we were able to see how many people were actually did come into the destination based on our campaign and see where they came from. Not surprising that the majority of them came from the Tampa St. Pete area and then Orlando. Atlanta, again, was number 3 there. But we were also able to kind of map that back to some of our Voyage data in order to understand, okay, what is our calculated number of nights that they stayed, and then what does that total revenue look like? So, for a campaign that traditionally we would have just reported to you number of impressions, a really good, very solid, above industry average video completion rate, and a total number of views, we're now able to turn around with this free data and say, well, we can estimate that we also got about a $6.27 on return on ad spend. And so that's always nice to see and be able to calculate some of the revenue that we generated from this video campaign.
And I would also just mention too that this is also just a sample set of what we of who actually may have come to the destination. Foursquare is not tracking every single person. Some people have ad blockers turned on their phones, things like that. So these are just the people that we could track. So this number in all reality is actually probably higher if you took into consideration all the people that would see the ad and show up into the destination.
And this is before the Suncoast Open or after the Suncoast Open?
No, this happened. This campaign timing was March through end of May.
Yeah, and there is a look back window, but it's only about 15 days after the campaign ends. So this is the whole campaign. These numbers won't change.
So moving on to the next slide, we wanted to just give you an update on where we stand with our conservation and educational campaigns. As you know, you all made a significant investment at our last board meeting with our augmented reality portal and our zoo activations and our educational manatee capital of the world. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen to give us an update on where we stand with all 3 of those campaigns.
Okay, so for the augmented reality portal, we have, in discussions with the Crystal River team, we've decided to push back the date into early January. Reason being is because the AR portal is a combination of digitally created material and actual 360 video shooting. And we felt that shooting live manatees, and we've already got a tentative approval to do that at that timing in Three Sisters Springs, would allow us to get a better visual on that portal. So we're kind of pushing the campaign back just a little bit, but in the meantime, we're designing the look and feel of the portal We're creating the copy and the portal link outs of where the click offs in the portal will go, because you'll have some live click offs to different conservation pages on the website, to potentially save Crystal River, so those kinds of things. So a lot of that background stuff is being worked on while we are building out the portal, but not actually shooting the manatees just yet.
Yeah. Just for clarification, it's the underwater filming that we're pushing back to January.
Right.
So when we started testing some of the fish and what they look like, we just really didn't feel like the manatee created in CGI did justice to your investment. So we really want to, be thoughtful in how we're spending the money and how we're presenting Discover Crystal River. So pushing it back to January is really going to give us that leverage to make the best possible product to showcase off the destination.
Any questions?
Hold on, Jen.
Functionally, how is that going to work with Three Sisters? You said you're going to shoot Three
so
Sisters?
we are working with Monica and the team to get a special permit where we can actually go in early January.
So it'll close.
While they're closed and film when there's no one else there.
Awesome.
And thanks to Terry and Jody and the team for helping us get that coordinated.
Yep. Moving on to the in-market zoo activations, I know that this is not an approved budget yet, but we've been working in the background with some different zoos. We've sent out RFPs to approximately 12 zoos. 2 have already confirmed that they are interested in moving forward with us. That was Zoo Tampa and the Cincinnati Zoo. So we do have those 2 confirmed. And we're looking at pushing back those activations also into spring of 2023 once the portal is complete, so that we can still utilize that part and launch the portal at the same time while doing those zoo activations. And I think next month we will be presenting you with the RFPs that we received back from those zoos for you guys to take a look at and to vote on.
So we're still going to try to get a couple more who are on the fence. Talking to Gene earlier too, trying to get SeaWorld to get involved as well. So we're hoping to get more than the 2 that have already committed, but we'll present all of our findings with that RFP process to you, so you can make a better decision on how many locations that you want to move forward with next time.
Moving on to the educational microsite and content, we have 2 story outlines for 2 of the stories have been approved and writers have been sourced. So those presentation layers and stories are in process. 6 out of 12 blog outlines, so ideas on the different blogs, which would be the added content to that microsite. Those have been started, and the microsite landing page design is in progress. So we'll likely have this all completed before the portal is ready to go, and we'll be adding new content to it, and we'll also be working with Save Crystal River to potentially link out to their site, add some of their content to this microsite, so really building it out to be the one spot for conservation in the area.
All right, and then the next thing on the agenda is for our fiscal year 23 media plan. So we did have a couple of notable changes going into our fiscal year planning. First being the way that we are looking at the media plan. So typically in the past we've just presented, here is all the digital, here is all the traditional, and that's your plan. This year we're breaking it out between leisure, travel, digital, and traditional, but then separating the augmented reality campaign as well as the Manatee Capital of the World educational elements into their own media buckets. We are also bringing in 2 new tactics into the plan this year, search engine optimization, which we've already discussed a little bit, as well as the WFLA weather cam. We also had a couple of budget changes. specifically regarding public relations. So, one of the goals, instead of doing special funding requests each year, especially if it's something that's going to be reoccurring investments, we tried to pull into the annual media plan. So with that, we had a lot of public relations initiatives in the UK and Germany with Gosh and Lee. So we are pulling dedicated marketing budgets for those PR elements in Germany and the UK markets out of the annual dedicated budget. So on the next slide, this is search engine optimization. If you have any more questions on this, we can definitely talk more in depth about it. But again, we recommend moving forward with this as that low-hanging fruit. On the next slide, the WFLA weather cam. We are going to be partnering with the plantation on Crystal River to do 4 months of the year, June through September of 2023, and we're going to get on-air exposure, several different types of digital impressions on the WFLA website, as well as one live TV interview segment as well. This really is a brand awareness play for the Tampa market. We really want to make sure that Crystal River is still being mentioned, whether it is the plantation or whether it is Discover Crystal River. We want Crystal River's name to keep being mentioned in the Tampa market and build that name recognition. So we really see this as a good brand awareness play for the Tampa market.
Didn't we do this with Bay News 9? How'd that work out? That's kind of why I asked.
There's still a Bay News 9 camera. Way back, actually when I did this camera, I had them propose to me. I already signed this deal. Then I gave the Bay News 9 deal to the TDC, which they executed. Took them forever to get the camera up. It was actually a more limited market. There was some Orlando components to it with their channel 23 or whatever that's over there. Long story short, you ran your year obligation with the Crystal River name on it. Now RP Funding or somebody, RK Funding Company, sponsoring the cam, and it's still up there, but it's
interesting.
It's not as aggressive. If you go on the Bay News 9 website, you can find it. It shoots out of Pete's Pier. It's there. It just they don't get the minimum 7 a month or 7 a week, Lee Span or Holly, whatever, telling you how great it is. And I think the chief meteorologist, I think, is staying with us now in the next couple of days. That's part of the WFLA group doing some scalloping. So, yeah, it's a different component. Not that I think there's opportunities with Bay News 9 if we wanted to engage it and get it more, because it does have its, as long as you're watching Spectrum TV, that's their gospel. So, but it's just never been as aggressively pursued. It was never done by the private sector. And then it just fell off the face after the contract was over because nobody wanted to commit to the $75,000 a year that it required to keep it rolling.
So what's this program cost?
This costs $23,000. So we're only doing 4 months. So
we're picking up the other $45,000.
Yep. So we're doing one third.
I got you. So you think it's a good idea? Or you
I've been doing it for 10 years.
Okay.
So.
And may I add something? Just so you know, when I was at Plantation and we started this cam, there wasn't a weekend or a weekday that went by where somebody didn't come up and say, hey, I saw you guys on the weather cam, it looks so beautiful. So that was one reason we wanted to participate in this, because we didn't want it to fall off, because there's a wait list for this spot. It's so popular. The other reason I think we talked about, Michael, when we didn't do the Bay News 9 was because only people that have Spectrum are going to see that.
Right.
And there's so many other providers out there now.
And it's more expensive for a less reach.
Everybody, even people on Spectrum, get WFLA, so it just made more sense to do this at the time.
Absolutely.
Uncle, I'm sold.
I also did learn that people love these cameras because we had the Homosassa River cam go out because of lightning, and we were getting calls and emails every single day. When's the camera coming back up? Why isn't the camera up? Poor Kelly. I'm so sorry. So weirdly enough, you'd never imagine that it's something people are very committed to, but they love them.
Great customer says yes, stop talking. The only thing that can happen is it can change the no.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I have a question.
Great.
It's not against it, it's actually for it.
Okay.
So I'm glad to, by the way, happy marriage. I hope it was good.
Thank you. I feel like I haven't been here forever. So
Yeah.
good to see you guys. I know you all showed up because it was my first day back. I know.
Exactly. You mentioned Homosassa, so I'm getting up to speed on this. So there was a Homosassa River cam as well as a Crystal River cam. Have we done anything in Inverness or Floral City?
Not yet.
Because Inverness is gorgeous down at Liberty Park, and it does have the water in the background. So, I don't know. I just want to make sure that we're pushing people to other cities in the county as well as Crystal River.
Sounds
just
like
to
we might need a private sector partner.
we need to spread the
City of.
it's not the love, it's the crowds. We need to, Crystal River's always going to be getting the bulk of it, but we need to, if we're going to keep growing, we need to also grow the other cities. So that's why I brought it up.
That is where, like, our last interview segment, we did focus on Homosassa with Captain Sue. With this one too, Sue, yeah. On this one, we also get one live interview segment as well, which is good because we replaced the broadcast TV budget to fit in the UK marketing and the Germany marketing. So we will still get added value out of this by still being able to do a segment. So for that, we can focus on any of the other cities that you would like us to.
If it makes sense, I just wanted to bring it up.
Yep.
Well, and piggybacking on it, and I don't know if this is possible, maybe Michael knows, could we have a couple different cameras around the county, and then each day a different one's highlighted, so they're all highlighted a couple times a week? So it's one contract for the airing, but there's a couple different feeds. So it's not always that same view, but it might be, Inverness a couple days a week, it might be Floral City, it might be Homosassa. So the investment would need to be there in the cameras and infrastructure up front, but the airtime commitment would be the same.
I think the easier thing is for those would be to mirror what we do with the River Cam, which is ours, and it's just there isn't any media behind it. Like this is their camera. This is a whole package of things. So we can look into see if there's other packages for that. This one is. It's a significant chunk, but our cost for just the stationary camera is not very much. I think it's $4,000 a year for the River Cam. I mean, we can look into a lot of different things, but I think that like I said, this bouncing them around on that, it might be the easier one would be to set up individual cameras in other areas that we want and have the feeds on our website, and then we can talk about that through our channels versus a media package like this.
Well, what sparked this thought is that this is the Tampa market, so this is the drive market, so we can be known for more than Crystal River in the drive market, right? To my mind, the funnel outside of the drive market, the funnel that people have never heard of Citrus County, the funnel is always, you're baiting that top of the funnel with Crystal River, Crystal River, Crystal River, Crystal River, but then they come down the funnel and then they start discovering through the website and other media that we have other charms, so maybe they can spend a whole week in Citrus County and do more than Crystal River and whatnot and come back. Some people love Avenue of the Oaks. It's not all about the water. Sometimes it's about the history and the small town charm and the old Florida and the old oaks and all that other good stuff. So it all comes to that baiting outside with Crystal River, but drive market, we can do a little bit more direct appeal, I think, to the other cities.
And I think that a great way to execute that is with our digital buy that comes along with this program. Obviously we're going to be limited on what we can say on air, but we can absolutely push to all the different landing pages for the destinations with our digital buys that come along with WFL.
And just to hop in here, we do have links to live camps for Homosassa already on the website, and we link to Homosassa Springs through the SaveTheManatee.org. So we do have some features with underwater cameras, above cameras, as well as the Crystal River cameras that are already on the website as well, but those aren't branded.
Any questions?
Just to stir the pot.
Sure, Michael, come on.
Not that it would necessarily make sense to have WFLA go from Inverness to Homosassa to whatever, but there's nothing to say ABC, CBS, Bay News 9, Fox they have weather cams as well, and then you could have an Inverness feed with the supporting audience of the ABC market that we're not reaching, even though NBC is the #1 reach market in the Tampa market. So there's that option, but then you're looking at a significantly more greater cost than that unless there was some private partnership that wanted to push Inverness, either be the city
you
and
need
or
a
other properties.
destination just like you to have the.
But then it
the
would be
logo
on
there.
ABC or CBS or Fox, you know, that's another option. But it's still gonna be a significant commitment, and whether they want that presence or not, it's another whole story. Because the news people need to want to have a presence up here as well. It's, you know, you could buy your way into it, but at the same time, they want to be able to show the different areas of weather for their weather forecast from wherever they broadcast from. So that's the only other,
So yeah, personally, I would say let's pick one and stick
no,
with
I'm
it.
just saying. Right.
But otherwise, I'm going to be coming and asking for a lot of special project funds for all of those cams. But we do think this will be a great brand awareness campaign and partnering, you know, with one of the major partners in Crystal River to help buy down that rate for both of us. Because I mean, especially if we were considering, you know, 5 different cams, I think the total contract was, you know, $60,000 to $70,000 for the year. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and there's a significant amount of digital impression opportunities besides just the picture on the screen. There's web banner ads. There's we're doing the weather app. So when the app comes up, if you've got the WFLA app and the weather, oh, you got a hurricane coming or you got a lightning storm, then stay at the plantation. Before or after the storm, you know, and it's going to now have digital opportunities for the destination as well. So.
Well, I am confident in both the agency and the staff that they're looking at the numbers all the time. We're looking at them once a month. So I just throw out ideas and then I'll let you figure out whether the ROI is there or not.
Hey, keep throwing. I appreciate it. Okay, next slide. This is just the breakout of our media campaign. So this is our leisure-focused campaigns for digital and traditional.
We simplified that in your packet. It's just a chart of just the numbers. So because I know this is difficult to read. Yep, there Michael's Vanna Whiting it.
Yeah, you've got 2 separate documents. You've got one that just shows the color blocks and then a separate one that shows the budget. I just put everything on one for this presentation. But in SEO, so we were talking about that, that's a $15,000 investment for the year, which represents about 2% of the budget. With the digital campaign, we're spending about $240,000 or about 42% of our total budget, which comes out to $567,000. In traditional media, we are spending about 25% of the budget, which equates to $145,000, with the new addition there being the WFLA weather cam. We're still going to do some of our tried and true placements, you know, such as the Visit Florida official vacation guide, the Brand USA Global Inspiration Guide, as well as some of our other big items like the Fox Florida Insider Report, Real Animals, as well as onshore, offshore fishing, and several other print ads there. So if there's any questions, happy to answer any of that. But if not, we'll just move right along. Next slide. This is also where we broke out the augmented reality campaign as well as the Manatee Capital of the World educational aspects. We're going to be spending $30,000 in the dedicated media portion. Now, this is in addition to the money that y'all had already approved in the special project funding to get the story creations and things like that. So this will help push those content articles out with paid media content distribution and support. So with the AR campaign, $30,000 representing 5% of the budget. Manatee Capital of the World, $24,000 representing almost 5%. So in pure media spend, we're right around $442,000, which is 78% of the budget in pure digital media or traditional and digital media. Any questions about the media aspects? As always, we also like to put just a contingency fund into the plan for new opportunities. So we're budgeting about $12,500 for new opportunities that may arise throughout the year. And if this year was any indication, we will definitely use all of those funds. There are things that pop up all the time between media opportunities, trade shows, things with Visit Florida, et cetera. We'll also be continuing our investment in destination intelligence, as well as public relations. So dedicated PR budgets now for Gosh and Lead, $20,000 each. That's the biggest change in the media plan this year. So we're going to have the dedicated funding for the UK market as well as Germany from a PR perspective. And a lot of those opportunities were special project funding requests this year, pulling in to this budget. So all of that added together, the new opportunities, the destination intelligence, the PR, as well as the media, that represents $567,000, which is 100% of our budget. Next slide. This is just our agency services, what the contract allows for, $123,000. So giving a grand total of $690,000 for the total budget. That includes the agency services. And then as your agency of record, there are a few things that we do as pass-through, such as Gosh, PR, Threshold, and Lead. So those are billed no markup. They just run under us as subcontractors. All right, next slide. Actually, do I need approval here?
We can do it at the end of the whole presentation.
Okay. So on the horizon, so we wanted to come with you, as always, with some opportunities, some things of, hey, we think this is cool. We've mentioned in the past, as we are filming with the augmented reality, we'll have, all these new great digital assets that we were wanting to do. IMAX theater, for example. As we were doing our research, we got a little bit of a shock, honestly. Some of the prices just came in a little bit higher than what we were anticipating. So we still want to do, yes, Terry said a little bit. We still want to do some more due diligence. The whole team, but especially me, I'm very cognizant of spending taxpayer dollars, and we want to be very thoughtful of how we spend that and make sure that we're doing the right investments. So on the next slide, some of the pricing that came back from IMAX, $200,000. You didn't even spend that on the augmented reality. Wow. So we are going to look for other vendors, other options for maybe different markets, figuring out some other ways to kind of bring this. Obviously, this number is scalable depending on how many screens, how many venues, things like that. But we are going to look for more cost-effective ways to still get that new video out and push that out to the market. Yeah,
and we found out that the IMAX does not necessarily mean like that theater either. Like in the picture where it's where you
2 stories.
Yeah, where you see the giant screen, like the roller coaster videos and things like that. It's just a larger screen in some things. There's fewer of those actual theaters. There's only what I think we found out is 20 actual IMAX theaters.
Right.
Yeah.
I got that shock going to see Top Gun in Ocala, supposedly in IMAX, but it's like
It's just a little bit of a bigger screen. It's a large format screen.
Yeah. So
they're branded still IMAX, right. So that's one of the big differences that we're now trying to go back. Okay, well, if we're going to pay an $80 to $100 CPM for a large format, does that really make sense compared to something that is a 3-story building?
Right.
That is huge. That would make that impact. So we want to do a little bit more due diligence before we make any requests to come back, but just know that we are researching things, and this is on the radar. On the next slide, we also were looking at partnerships with Nat Geo and the Disney Network. As you know, Nat Geo would be a perfect place for our message and our audience. However, this was a little bit of a shock as well. Well, we asked for a $50,000 proposal and got back a $200,000 proposal. So we are still researching some elements, maybe doing a print ad or a dedicated only digital buy with Nat Geo, or some of the other elements. But I'm going to turn it over to John to kind of walk through what they came back to us and positioned, the buy with, and then he can answer any of those questions, hopefully.
Yeah, so outside of just trying to do some advertisements on Nat Geo placements, which we could do through other exchanges. I talked to you guys earlier about Choosel. We could do video advertising, connected TV through those types of avenues. We reached out to the Disney team, ABC Disney, to see what other options they had available to us. And then they were like, yeah, I mean, we have programming and you can do sponsored programming, and that's millions of dollars. So I was like, well, we don't have that much. What can you offer us? And so then they came back with this ABC Localish opportunity. One of the things that they were able to kind of fold into the Nat Geo option was that they could, with this branded storytelling and a full service production from them, with basically like a 5-minute episode that they would fold into their social programming and then other advertising and programming that happens on the ABC-owned TV stations in the markets that we asked for, which was New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Raleigh. They did suggest that they could get a Nat Geo Explorer as a host to that type of programming, and then push that out through all of their platforms. Really and truly, the cost, most of it was media. Media was about $150,000. Production was only about $50,000. But so then part of that distribution was being pushed across all of their audience networks, all their ABC-owned TV stations that were boosted to select audiences, being on the ABC app and their website, localish.com, and then also being pushed through a lot of their streaming services like D2 Linear, which is Disney, the ABC-owned station streaming programs, and that Localish network I mentioned before. So there was a lot of value here, it felt, but as TJ mentioned, definitely expensive for what we got. But something that we researched it. We wanted to share with you guys kind of what our research was, and just let you know that we're continuing to keep our ears to the ground and find new opportunities for you guys.
And so we are going to continue, exploring other avenues to enhance our messaging with these campaigns, because you are going to, especially once we get this augmented reality portal launched, it's just going to make such a huge impact. We do want to find other ways to, promote that and enhance that message. So, one of the things that John and I talked about, especially since some of the PR budget had to come out, we were also anticipating about $100,000, increase in the budget. That didn't happen. So we are looking for more ways to, enhance and come back to you, but we're going to keep researching and we'll come back at a later date.
Okay, another crazy idea inbound, so buckle up. 2 weeks ago, I attended the annual convention for Florida Association of Counties. Our keynote opening speaker was fantastic, and he's a documentary filmmaker who made one of his documentaries was Legend of the Night, which was about the whole Batman stuff, like everything to do with Batman. I haven't seen it, but it was definitely a documentary. And he feels very strongly to give back to the community. So he went to his promoter and he said, I have this crazy idea. I want to offer free screening to any theater that they can screen it and get money for however many dollars per ticket, and it would go to a local charity. And the promoter was like, you're insane, and I'm not, I'll support you in this, but there's going to be no financial support whatsoever. They grassrooted, they got so much money raised for various locations around the country. So I'm thinking that, and what does that have to do with this? I'm thinking we need to get ahead of the conservation effort hard, because Save the Manatee is coming for us. So is there a way, I'm just spitballing, is there a way to pivot that 60-second video for IMAX into our own version of Save the Manatee, which is conservation? And I don't even know if we could loop Nat Geo in that as well, but basically sell it that we're doing that as a fundraiser or for free or something. I am thinking out loud, which is always very dangerous.
And so,
but there's a lot of smart brains in the room that might have just clicked.
So are you saying essentially make a documentary for Save the Manatees,
I'm just saying that with that wonderful 3D footage that we have, can that be positioned as something that's beneficial for the IMAX theaters to run for free?
Gotcha. I think that anything is a possibility, and we can
I know it's crazy.
we can
but I'm
definitely
just
have
throwing
those
it out there.
discussions. Yeah, to see. I mean,
It couldn't be tagged with Discover Crystal River. It couldn't be tagged with anything that's for profit. It would have to be something else. But anything that gets manatees out there
Yeah.
is going to lead directly back to us.
yeah, and we have been thinking about some on the conservation side of like, okay, how can we expand this out from a digital perspective as well? In some of our discussions with Save Crystal River, we had an idea that we can make an interactive game where you essentially could buy a 1-by-1 block so you donate $5 or $10 or whatever that amount is of whatever it would cost to plant eelgrass, and then we would do a map, and you could see as people donate where then on the map
Oh, I
people
love that.
are replenishing the eelgrass.
Homosassa needs that support badly since they've got cut from the state budget.
Yeah. So I think the possibilities are definitely endless, and definitely if you've got any more ideas, we would love to hear them.
I'm not the governor.
I just punched our lobbyist.
I'm not the governor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just everybody can just ruminate on that or think silently that Davis is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and then one of the things too, John can go back as our media director and talk to those people to see if they would be, even willing to entertain that as like a pro bono or something.
Flip it into, and just make it clear, flip it into some sort of almost a fundraising opportunity. That would be pretty cool.
Absolutely. And then that way you could get Hayworth involved, have a PR element to it as well.
Anyway, just a
Okay.
thought.
I appreciate that. So with that, I believe that wraps up our presentation. So I think I need to ask for approval of our media plan, I believe.
Okay. All right, anybody want to make a motion on that? Or any discussion? Yes, no, baby? Okay, all
I'll second.
right. Board discussion? Come on, Michael.
I just, the SEO side of it, I love it, want to do it. Having a third-party agency instead of the agency that runs the website is sort of concerning to me for access to the back for the meta terms and the searches and all, and how's that relationship going to go? And then I'm a little confused and perplexed as to why Tempest didn't provide us a more robust SEO program from the initial part of it, because every website I've bought, which is about 6 now, always has a very robust SEO program behind it. So I'm a little perplexed as to why they don't have the SEO under better control than they do, and we need to get it under control because it's very important. So I guess that's my only point of wonderment, and making sure we're comfortable with being able to get back into the back of that site and get the terms put in there, and the tambourines, or not tambourine, that's mine.
Tempest.
Tangerine, or whatever the hell yours is, Tempest. Why can't we just call things like real names instead of, what's that one we had with the web, with the
Choozle.
video? Choozle. Come on, people, grow up.
I
So
can tell you
I-
why.
I would say that we do SEO for, I think we're up to like 50 clients now, and they are all using, either us or Simple View or Tempest or some other, website provider. We will get access to the back end and we can go in and do it. So from that aspect, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't foresee any issues with that because we're already doing that for a number of sites.
Just making sure it's on the table, so if somebody else asks a
Absolutely.
question.
May I'll chime in and say, from my perspective, my agency, we do not develop websites, but we do a lot of SEO for, for clients because we are so embedded in the day-to-day workings of the client that we do SEO, blogs, PPC, we do everything that Madden's doing for TDC, but we don't do the website portion because that's a whole nother layer of,
Administration.
it's not administration. It's a whole nother layer of difficulty of finding good providers for that. But there's also a lot of liability involved with website development that I just don't want to carry the risk. But the important part is that because a firm that is so deeply embedded in a client's business does a better job with SEO if they have good SEO people. I'm assuming you do.
Yeah, I don't doubt their talents or
Yeah,
capabilities.
so, but that's a really good, but what does happen sometimes with us is that we're not giving back end access, and hand
Right.
off SEO to the client,
And then the client
to then
has to-
hand it off
to
to
their-
the web firm, and
right.
if their web firm is weak,
Right.
it is not a good situation. So that's an outstanding question. So.
And
any
there
other
are
questions
support
on-
hours that are built into the contract with Tempest. We have a relationship where, you know, if we've ever, you know, need a new page created or something changed, we, you know, send them a ticket request and it always gets done. So far, we've not had any issues working, you know, side by side with Tempest. I feel like it's going well.
Yeah, they've been very flexible on
Mhm.
on anything that we've needed, and so I'm not concerned about getting access, because we're paying them for something else. I'll tell them, give them access. I mean, that's what
Awesome.
we're gonna do.
Awesome.
I appreciate the concern, but yeah,
Just, you know, making sure we're all up in front.
It's a great
what our job
question.
is.
Really is a great question. Any other questions? Good timing on me asking you, Cindy.
This is really good.
Anyone? All right, so we have a motion on the floor. I guess we'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Excellent.
All right, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you.
great work, you do.
Thank you.
Great job.
John, Jen, thank you.
Bye, everybody. The digital goodbye.
I'd already sent Jen an email for the deck that we saw, so I can send it out later today or tomorrow, so everybody, I saw Mike taking pictures, it'd be easier to read.
Would love to have it.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'll get that to everybody, so you'll have all of that in a legible format. The Florida Outdoor Writer sponsorship, this is something that was approved a couple of years ago, but because of COVID and the timing and everything, it's now here. And so this is just a reminder that we agreed in the original proposal when we won, that we would, is it dinner or the reception?
It's a whole sponsorship.
I forget what we had one thing last year.
That was it was the closing dinner,
Right.
awards dinner. We had to sponsor that.
And then this is the reception and some other things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make sure I had what we were doing in line, but.
And they're doing it here? Or?
Yeah, it's at the plantation.
It
It's
is here,
it's
okay.
after Labor Day.
That's great.
It's that week. So it's a giant fam trip.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 50 writers that from the state in town, and we have them captive for 4 days, and we get to show off. And that, so
Woohoo.
yeah. So this group they generate stories, and they have for a long time. So. Last year was their first year back after it was a little bit smaller, so they're expecting a much larger group, maybe 50. I think that's what we're looking at, which would be fantastic. So, but that's just it doesn't need a vote or anything. It's just a reminder that that this was approved, and in case it came up somewhere, nobody remembered but me. I want to let everybody know that they're on pace, and so long ago we hosted it. Like in 14, I think, or something. And so this is another, like I said, Plantation won the bid, and so we're very happy to have them here. So.
Yeah, that was, just to interject some more, yeah, we came back in 14, and that sort of was what kind of helped launch us into this new waterfront, increased revenues, fishing, boating, kayaking, swimming.
Yep.
It was just having the state's leading media folks here is huge for us.
Yep.
So you'll see it spread out as we go forward, because not everybody's going to go back and do the same article at the same time, because they want to make it look like it's an original thing down the road. But yeah, it was strong for us in 14. It would have been strong for us 2 years ago. It'll be strong for us now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. That's a good thing.
Okay, so now on to the regular financials. So it's still RevPAR and everything's still looking good right now. And
We're on crack. I looked at these numbers, I'm like, it's so good.
again, I'll go with my standard monthly statement that at some point this is going to end. So we're already talking earlier. Michael said there's already seen some softening for the August booking, but at some point it has to level off. I do think that come fall, some of that could be mitigated by the return of the international travelers. Even though the currency is not as great as it has been for them, they had it way worse than we did. I mean, they really couldn't go anywhere. And so there's a demand pent up, and they have some money that probably was squirreled away. At least that's what we were hearing when we were in London. And so I do think that the backing off of the testing requirement is going to make things easier to enter the country. So I'm hopeful that that's going to continue, and they'll make it easier for them to get here in the fall.
So you think the fall? I was going to ask that question. Like, what is the prognosis on international travel?
I think it's the fall and an end of 23. Terry's speaking more to the tour operators, but I think what did you hear from the?
Well, the latest report that I got was just yesterday, and the demand is so high that the tour operators can't keep up with it because they aren't getting rates fast enough from all the people. Now, I'm happy to report that everybody here that does deal with these international tour operators has gotten their rates in, so that's good. We're ahead of that one, but they're also short-staffed, and so they having trouble keeping up with the demand. It's so great. So I think we're going to see heavy travel in November through February. And it's just going to continue from there. I think we'll be I think, and not just me, but from everything I've read that people have been collecting, we'll be back up to normal international travel around 17%, probably by summer of next year, probably from a year from now, which
That's
is
great.
way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Are the airlines capable of taking the lift?
Well, that's the other thing.
Great question.
But they did just open up. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say there was a new
Yeah.
airline in Tampa,
With-
Virgin.
Virgin Airlines just announced a nonstop flight from Heathrow to Tampa.
Wow.
It'll be going 3 days a week.
4.
Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, and that'll start in November 1st.
From where to Tampa?
That was just announced last
Heathrow.
week.
That was just announced, yeah. And then Lufthansa has also added one out of Orlando. But they've added, so they had a nonstop going to Frankfurt, and they've just added 2 more days a week to that as well out of Orlando. So, yeah, some of the little guys are dropping off, but the big guys are.
So softness in August compared to what?
The best year we've ever had in August the year
Right,
before.
I mean,
No, it's I mean, John's predictions are already working for Hernando. Minus 2.2 RevPAR growth. Lost 15 points on their occupancy.
I saw
And
that.
Pasco's lost 13 points on their occupancy, but their rates are way up, so we're leading the pack in that, which is great. So I don't know if that's anything, our June was down year over year too, rooms wise. So
year over year, though.
year over year. Still a great June,
Right.
but,
Our collections aren't, so,
yeah.
right?
What?
Our collections are still up year over
Yeah.
year.
We don't know about June yet.
The last June, July were insane. That
Yes.
was
Yeah.
vaccines available, get me the hell out of the house. Period.
The rush.
Right.
Well, I mean,
The
that's
freedom
what
rush.
it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking at this report, it's sort of that's the concern that John's speaking to is Hernando had, I'm sure, a record year last year, so did Pasco. But look at their demand is down 15 points and 14 points.
Right.
Their rate's up, which is great. If their rate had stayed even, their RevPAR index would have been down double digits. So as long, and again, how long with the inflationary scenarios we've got going on will the rate surge last? Will people start tightening up their wallets on everything and say, well, I'll go, but I'm not going to give you $200 a night. I'll only give you $150 a night. Those are the kind of things you got to look at as an indicator moving forward. So, yeah, if the demand's not there, which is indicated by the occupancy reports, and then you've got your quality, if you want your measurement, then you've got the fictional number of RevPAR, which is an index, which always has multiple components to make it work. And those are surrounding counties to us that have similar attributes to offer,
Right.
and then it's, look at Orlando, Florida as a whole, 2 points up in occupancy and 12 points in rate. Again, not a robust demand curve.
But we never beat the state.
Right.
We never beat the state.
That's
at all.
great numbers for us. And
Right.
again, in the normal world, if we see a 3% increase, we're happy to, so this is unprecedented numbers.
Right. Okay. So everybody takes credit then. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's. Well, I talked about it earlier. Like when things get tighter, our industry is the first one to feel it because it's discretionary. you know, I use the example of the travel soccer team. Where am I going to go here, or am I going to support my child in their soccer endeavor? Soccer endeavor is going to win every time. So that's where we usually see that, you know, that hit when things really start to go south. So I guess I can. Yep, there we go. So that's
Good looking bar.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
They got some good drinks there.
So which was this, the month? This is just the month.
Year to date, yeah.
So again, just, you know, now everybody's positive on this one,
Right.
on this one, but so this is the real indicator. I think I left out a digit.
You think?
I did. I saw it.
Because there's
but I
your
didn't-
leveling out otherwise.
Yeah, we killed it. You know, May of 21 was terrible. Crushed 22. I think I don't remember what that is. What's on the chart in your packet? What the math is right, because I double checked the math because I missed on the math. Now I just can't type. but really you can see how, you know, we're in total collections. It's 37% above last year to date. That's 8 checks in. So, and that's also on the report that you had that I put together. In our discussion with the chair, we give a view long-term of where we were budget-wise and what our marketing piece was. That's where that chart came from, just to get a holistic. As she's, we've seen these numbers for several years, and as a new chair, give a historical perspective. So, but yeah, I mean that's. And the other thing I point out is, we're getting ever close to that number, which in the capital reserve, which triggers people's interest. Something about $1 million.
I agree. I thought
It sounds like you have $1 million.
I thought
It's you know, we have 927 now. I mean, that $80,000 difference. But yeah, there's something about that number triggers everything. I don't know why. It seems like, oh goodness, we have so much money, and then all of a sudden things happen. So
What's our 5th penny total at now? Like we made 56,000.
it's on the chart in there. It's 300 and something.
398.
398.
400 grand.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
in the past it was better to show the total
Yeah.
number of what's available as we have discussions about what to do or not do. But yeah, so that's pretty strong through 8 checks. So and yeah, I had a conversation with the administrator this morning. But as I always said, I don't want us to get so happy with the budget that we have a cliff. You know, I mean, I want us, our group will activate all the money that we're given, but I just certainly don't want to have to come back and say, well, we had to cut 200 because we got really happy with our bottom line the year before because we had it, and then things changed. So I do, in that aspect, I'm okay with our conservative budgeting. I always push them, but I understand it, but I still have to push.
Right.
Still. So, all right, and Jody is on our media report.
Good morning, everybody. So for Facebook last month, actually it was, you were talking about Avenue of the Oaks earlier, and they had the best performing non-manatee or scalp related post there on Facebook. You can see about 1.3 thousand likes, 47, almost 48,000 people reached there with that Avenue of the Oaks. So we're always trying, we're always pushing in whatever way we can. One of the ways that we do struggle with some of the East Side things, something to think about is content, because I can't be everywhere all the time and doing my job and my husband's whole job. So, so I do rely on that user-generated content a lot. So anything on the East Side, if you've got that content, sending it over to us is always helpful. We've of course been pushing scalloping, and it's been great thus far. We've seen lots of good responses to that, and then a little bit later you'll see some of the different fam tours that we have coming up for scalloping this week actually. And then the fishing page, Captain Tony knocked Katie Jo out of the top spot this month, and we still see a little bit of an increase there with that fishing following.
Must have been the hairdo.
Yeah. He does look great, but it's the same picture we've been using. He just must have had great info this go around. For Instagram, we got a really fun photo with one of our local mermaids hanging out with a pirate. So something that unique is always a fun get, and that's about 428 likes there over on Instagram. And then this reel here you see to the right is the one that went viral on, no wait, this is a different one, I apologize. Let's see if I can get it to play.
No sound.
Oh,
The sound makes it all.
That's hilarious with the sound, yeah.
Yeah, so the scallops swimming people love, it really draws the attention in, and then I try to go into the rest of the scalloping experience, if you will. And I'm going out with all of our different scalloping fams so that I can gather new content for our own social sites as well. So that reel itself got over 22,000 views. So we're still sitting there in second place. I again don't have many hopes for us beating St. Augustine, but if they keep branding themselves as a historic coast, maybe one day, because nobody searches for that. But I don't understand the decision.
That was a little dig.
Seems weird to me, but okay. So 26.4 thousand followers, and before you know it, we'll be hitting 27. So my new goal is 30. Very excited. It'll be here before we know it. Instagram for May to June, we got 407 new followers and a 26% increase in those content interactions, as well as a 32% increase in total accounts reached. A lot of that is due to the success of some of those scalloping reels, so I'll continue making those as I go. And then Facebook, 512 new followers, a good increase in post engagement, and as well as another increase in total accounts reached. So we're on the up and up all the way across the board. This is a very long list of fam tours. And this a little bit of June. I could only fit my July ones, so that tells you how busy it's been. Alice and Kimmy there is a great actually she's a TikTok influencer, so we've been trying to reach out into that market a little bit more since we can't quite have a TikTok of our own. Erin Cohen is in Sarasota Magazine are in right now with Southern Living coming later today. So all of those trips will be doing scalloping, and so we'll get some really great coverage there as well. Especially great to have, Southern Living coming to cover scalloping.
Tell them that was my mama's favorite magazine.
Right.
I told Jody yesterday, it's unusual that Southern Living told us ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Normally they come in and they do it, and then they call you to fact check. But so that was my experience in Gainesville. Is that all of a sudden it hits the stand and the phone goes crazy, and they were like, "What happened?" That happened in Micanopy. They called us, "What'd you guys do?" Our phones are going crazy. But yeah, I don't know if they don't necessarily feel they want to have any bias or anything like that. But yeah, so this is pretty awesome that we know it's coming, so we can.
It's still a very relevant magazine.
Absolutely.
I get it digitally, so
Yeah, it still has massive importance. So that's.
And this is actually, she's a freelance writer, but she has a story secured with Southern Living already. So that could be part of the reason why, because it is coming from freelance and not a staff writer. But either way, I'm happy to know. I made sure she got the best goodie bag.
Yes.
So this is our reports from Hayworth as well as Visit Florida for some of the FAMs that we've done. And I'm very excited because Brittany, who works on our account over at Hayworth, and I have been, nose to the grind for sure. And so you see in our June report, 163 million impressions between the work that Hayworth and I have done. So it's been great. You can also see that we're seeing good engagements and views over there on TikTok by utilizing some of those really great influencers that we're bringing into town. So seems to be working well, and we'll keep doing it. If you want to click that full report there for me, Christina, for the Hayworth one. Oh. There we go. Oh, that's a Visit Florida one, but that's okay. We can do it. So this is our Visit Florida full report.
Or so it was.
And if you scroll down to the bottom for me there, you can see this has been since last year, about this time. They give us a full year. So in a year's time, we have 130 million, almost 131 million impressions through our Visit Florida fan partnerships. So the one that I highlighted there on the slideshow itself, if you go up to the top, is 1 through, there we go. So Eat This, Not That is, which is funny because it's about manatees and you should definitely not eat those. But the exposure for that one was over 19, almost 20 million. So that was back in May. And so that was a really successful one that we had. And if we want to swap over to the Hayworth one, that's the part that we saw there on the slideshow, but if you scroll down a bit, you'll see some of those a little more in depth. So you'll see like Amy's on the Avenue on the far left there, and then some TikToks. They explored Inverness and Crystal River. She actually stayed over at the Central Motel. She did cycling on Los Cacucha State Trail, viewed the mural there in downtown Inverness, so she got a good view of both sides. And then she also posted, it's Tampa Bay Explore, posted there on her Instagram page as well. So, and then if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see one of the big booths there would be the Yahoo story that went out about magical town in Florida, only place you can swim with manatees. So of course that went great, with about 150 million impressions. And then Save Crystal River worked with CBS News to do some coverage on the seagrass restoration projects and how that's helping the area. And we worked along with them, and that one received almost 11 million views. So we've been working diligently. Yeah,
Go back to the, yeah.
Nope, too far. Nope, that's it. Sorry. I just really like talking to you guys. Any questions on all of that?
Oh, great work.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys.
My job's not as fun and exciting with all those fun numbers that, but anyway.
Yes, it is.
Oh. Anyway, I attended IPW at the beginning of June with 47 meetings with trade and tour operators. 39 of them were with product managers of our leading tour operators in the targeted markets of Brazil, Germany, UK, and the Netherlands and Mexico. Also had several people come as a result of IPW for a post-FAM tour, and that went very well, which is actually just as of Monday, got a report back from the German folks at Lieb that we have secured a new contract position with the brochure in one of the larger ones out there in Canusa, called Canusa, and they're going to do a whole program based on that. Again, putting together this FOA project, which is like this giant fam for 50 people, but highlighting all the best places, and I'm really excited about some of the opportunities that we have. Got the Duke Mariculture Center on cap for them to go see. Working on some bass fishing down over on the lakes over there, and so hopefully doing a historic tour of the courthouse, and so they'll get the whole county picture and lots of good stories to come. No follow-up calls, blah, blah, blah. And then I had a chance to go to a live filming of the Florida Insider Fishing Report while I was down doing some sales calls in Miami. And that was fun. It was their first one back. We spent a lot of money with them. And they were actually just in destination this last weekend. They brought their whole crew and did scalloping and fishing and got a lot of good video for us on that trip as well. So we've already gotten some good impressions on our fishing page. I know the plantation's gotten some good feedback from that as well. That's it.
Good job.
Two things that happened at the board meeting not yesterday, but before was the Tempest contract was approved for the ad sales. And I spoke with them the other day, and in terms of what they're going to do on the discount, they made it much easier. So the first year, they were going to grant everybody 15%, and then if you renew, it's 40% off of the list price. Versus we were going to have like a scale, and their CEO just said, that's confusing. Let's just do it this way. So that's a little bit better than what we were anticipating. So we have a call with them this afternoon to start moving forward on how to get that out to the community in terms of sales efforts. The other thing that was approved was the advertising policy. So now we have an advertising policy that gives us, it says how other people can participate with us, put it that way. That's, we didn't have anything in place before, so it was an open door, but now we have the ability to say no if we choose.
That was a well-done policy. Good job.
I gave legal the backbone of what we wanted, and then they filled in all the other words to help it out. But I think it had the right strength to, and it's based off language in the statute, so it gives us another solid foundation. So, but that's good news. So going forward, so we don't have to have that concern. And it was already written into the contract with Tempest about the same thing of the ability of who can participate. So that's just following up on that. Otherwise, yeah, things are going well. We're looking forward to conference season pretty much coming up for us. So that's good.
Oh,
Any
yeah.
questions? What?
Awesome.
Yep. Good.
Anybody? Good.
Great stuff.
All right. Jackie?
Thank you, Madam President, Chairwoman, whatever. I don't know what these titles anymore. We obviously enjoyed, we felt the third was a great success, moving into a new area, and we are looking forward to the country jam. We were putting out there, Cooter Goes Country, and it's got a lot of attention already. So a lot of good things happening, and glad to be part of it.
Good. Cindy?
Let's see, the National Wildlife Refuge headquarters is finally having a ribbon cutting ceremony on the 20th. Finally, I think it's a long time coming. So that's kind of exciting stuff. We're waiting on a proposal for the improvements of Kings Bay Park. The kayakers, are all going out. Most of them are all going out of there now, which is great. But for safety-wise and stuff like that, for the tourists that come there, we're trying to improve the park. So we're going to probably be looking for some help with that down the road. And what else? And we had to hire an officer, pretty much full time to be on the water out there to kind of help with the tourists and stuff like that. Kind of keep everybody happy on the water. But we've started. Our officer went out there, and we've got some signage out there. I don't know if any of you have seen it. I'm trying to keep kayakers to the left, boaters to the right. And the signs are a little bit small, so we're planning on making them a little larger. But all in all, the past few times that I've been out on my boat going through the waterways, even the smaller signs seem to be working. The kayakers aren't just everywhere. They are, I mean, I'd say 75, 80% are actually staying to one side and keeping out of the way of boaters. So I'm really happy to see that the education is working in the Kings Bay Park. We're planning on a pavilion with more kayaker tourists educating about, staying out of the way of boats. So we'll keep the local people that live there a little happy. That's it.
Awesome. Anyone else? Michael, Mike? Amy? Doctor? No?
Just follow up on what Cindy said with the refuge opening. Yes, it's been a long 4 painful years. But you all should have gotten an invite, so hopefully you're all able to
I
attend
believe-
next.
I did. I'll resend it. I know I forwarded it out, but I'll.
I got it.
Yep.
No, I got it, and I think it's actually on my calendar, which is a good thing, because anything that's not on my calendar doesn't get remembered. I am clear, so I will be there.
So.
So it's 11 to 1. Is ribbon
Nine,
cutting?
isn't it?
9 to 11.
Well,
and then
there's
11
two.
to
There's
1.
There's
there's
actually
a
3
planting.
functions that
Tree
day.
planting and ribbon cutting.
There's the tree planting at 9, the ribbon cutting at 11, and then they're kind of doing an industry one that evening where City Park and Rec staff's invited, SUP holders are invited, and volunteers to the refuge are invited. So,
We
but
have
the
our
main
di-
one's
we
the
have our
ribbon
dinner
cutting
that
at
night.
11 for
Yeah,
the
but we're not
TDC.
invited to that one.
Okay.
Question since you're talking about.
Ribbon
have
cuttings
any
at
of your-
11?
Yes.
Okay.
Have any of your captains been noticing the difference with kayak behavior? Kayak
No, because
behavior?
we've been avoiding any place with kayaks. We haven't gone past Pete's Pier
Oh, so you haven't come
or
down one.
past the bridge into Three Sisters in a month.
Okay.
I mean,
Because I mean we're seeing that it is kind of helping.
yeah,
behind
well,
runners and everything
no,
else, yeah.
that's great, and
Yeah.
that's just been on our end. The captains have said it's not worth dealing with it. Maybe a morning trip,
Yeah.
but the kayakers aren't out there. But certainly later trips, they're avoiding it like the plague.
Yeah, but our sheriff officer has actually gone to residents and asked if they could put these signs on their docks and
Oh, okay.
in their yards, and people were very.
I started noticing maybe
I've
6
seen a
months
couple
ago,
of
I
those.
think.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that long. It's only been out past.
I'm not out on the water that much,
Yeah.
but I did notice them. I
Last
was
month.
like, go Crystal River.
Oh yeah,
Because the kayakers are dangerous.
Yeah, so we're working on improving that. It seems to be working a little bit, so happy about that.
Awesome. Anything else? All right. I think we're
Sorry.
open to the public.
I was leaning forward.
We have no public here?
John, that was
They
just-
don't want to talk, I guess.
Anyone? All right. Then I guess we are adjourned.